Hey, it's Gaddafi here, and we're going to do a Shtf series again, and it's going to be titled Bug Out Vehicles. Now, the concept for this is pretty good for what people kind of envision in their heads with the whole Mad Max theory, or, you know, people have like this concept of you need this monster truck that gets through everything, or an up-armored military vehicle. And oh yeah, before I forget, there's Ivan in the back, so you can wave to him. Anyways, as far as bug out vehicles go, I hate the term bug out, but I feel like for the most part, when you say bug out, it should already be there, but I guess not everybody has got that ability. But if you need to get out of Dodge or get a vehicle that can get you home or whatnot, what would you use, right? I mean, my criteria for a vehicle is pretty simple. I want it to be reliable, I want it to be easy to get parts for, and I want it to be easy to work on. So that eliminates a lot of things. I mean, what you're going to want is something like, and if you hate Chevys, you hate Chevys. But the one thing Chevy did for the last, I don't know, since the beginning of time is they basically produced a pushrod engine, a small block pushrod engine since the 1950s. And yeah, the LS isn't part of the small block series in that sense, but they've been making LS engines for the last 20 years. And for the people who don't know what the LS is, it's basically what, it's in your top, like anything 2002 and up, Tahoes, Suburbans. They basically put more of still a pushrod engine, which means a lot simpler. You don't have a dual overhead cam. Okay, when you have cams on top of the motor or top of the cylinder heads like that, you require a lot more moving parts. So the pushrod, you have the cam underneath, and it pushes rods literally up to open the valves. Probably doesn't make sense to 90% of the people here who've never seen an engine work. If I can find a how-to engine video clip to kind of throw in here, I'll put that in there. But what I'm talking about is the simplicity of stuff. So Chevy GM doesn't like changing what they do. They like to find something that works, and then they go with it for 10 years on the same platform for the most part. Their cars obviously aren't maybe the greatest in the sense of like, yeah, I probably wouldn't buy a lot of the car products, but their truck line and SUV line for the most part are excellent. And when I say SUV, I don't talk about Traverse and Arcadia. I'm talking like the truck SUV, Suburban, Tahoe. For GMC, you got the Yukons. Now, being said that, why would I choose those vehicles over anything? Well, they're simple to work on. And because they produced it for so long, you can get parts and go to O'Reilly's, and you can get brakes, you can get engine parts, you can get all the sensor parts, you can get everything. You can stock up on these things. So it's not terrible. And on the flip side, the aftermarket's there. So if you want to put in, and when I talk about bug out vehicles, I strongly advise you not to do crazy lift kit, crazy tires. There's a term called basically overlanding, which is more of like an Australian term, and I think it's coming here more. And they don't call it four-wheeling or off-roading, they call it overlanding. And that's when they go off-roading essentially, but for practical purposes. Like, it's not a monster truck thing. And what it is it's maybe you're lifting the truck chassis up a few inches or a little bit, and you're maybe putting a slightly taller tire in, and it's a little more aggressive. And that's it. And then you'll put your lights, you'll put your roll bar, your crash bars, and all that stuff on it, and keep it simple. A lot of the suspension pieces for that are a little different. It's more of suspension travel and longevity, and a lot for reliability purposes, instead of just seeing a jacked up truck go through mud. And it's good. Like, I think when you look into it that way, bug out vehicles should be something that you could still work on. And I think most people could, if they took the time and looked at it like, hey, you can do these things. It's not that much different than the 80s and 70s vehicles that GM produced. There's a few new parts, or a few new terms, there's a few new things, but the basics of the engine are pretty much the same. It's only just gotten maybe a little bit more computer controlled. And some stuff's a little harder, but Chevy pretty much kept that whole maintenance ability similar. And because they use that style engine, there's a lot more engine bay space to actually work in. Drivetrain and stuff is pretty much similar. You basically have a normal four-wheel drive setup, and things that I would say if you're going to upgrade to in your four-wheel drive, I would say a front and rear locker, which basically makes it a true four-wheel drive system. When you engage those lockers, all four tires are going to turn at the same time. What it does for you is it gives you all power to all the wheels, and then when you need to get out, you're going to get out. It's very effective. So that you have that way. I mean, they don't cost a small fortune. Things I would stay away from, I'd stay away from your Toyotas. I mean, good vehicles, reliable, but parts are expensive. I'd stay away from the Honda things, the Honda truck. Fords that, you know, the older Fords were good. Up until they went to that modular engine with the 4.6 and 5.4. Back when they had the 351s and 302s. Great truck. But when they switched over to this modular engine, nothing but problems. Dodge, if you can get a 12-valve Cummins, which now they're kind of so sought after, they kind of have a pretty big following, is bulletproof. And by all means, that Dodge 12-valve is so basic that it's, even if you believe in EMPs knocking everything out, there's nothing for that Dodge to get knocked out. They don't have a computer. They have like two power wires going to the motor. It's pretty cool. Like, those things run and run in a lot of aftermarket. And there's people that take that motor and they put it in the newer Dodge, and they're getting 20 miles to the gallon, 25, with all the ability to have all this power, which is great. So again, like, I'm gonna look at the whole concept of bugging out, right? Well, why would I suggest an SUV or a truck? Well, SUV can hold people and gear and pull a trailer. The truck can also do the same thing with a, you know, four-door cab. You can have your family in it, and then the bed of the truck. It exposes the bed, which can be bad too. But the concept of getting out, right? Especially if you live in the city. If you lived in a city, suburbs, where you needed to leave, the problem I can see is you getting stuck in traffic. But, I mean, that's the whole concept of any vehicle. You're going to get stuck in traffic. But if you had down trees, down this, you know, roads were kind of tore up or something, you could probably get through it with an SUV and truck setup. Or you could start going across land, you know. You could go across, you know, a freeway median and get across that, versus if you have maybe a car or something else, it could get stuck. I mean, you're still pulling your equipment. The reason why I would say stay away from military vehicles is usually they're beaten to death. I mean, while it'd be fun to buy an old Humvee, they're not big inside. There's not a lot of cargo space. There's barely enough room for people. As funny as that sounds, they are small. If you're over 6 feet tall, it is one of the most uncomfortable vehicles to drive. The only military vehicle I would say would be fun, worth getting, is some of the old 5 tons. You can pretty much live in an old 5-ton. And the old Cut Bs, which basically was a Chevy truck. That's essentially, it was a Chevy truck and a Chevy Blazer. And those are cool because those also pretty much bulletproof. And that's going into a different section of, you know, trucks. If you're going to go into that, you're looking at a little bit older. So if you're familiar with the mechanics of the older stuff, and you're good with the stuff now, the older stuff isn't bad either. Yeah, plus you get a little bit more, I'd say it's a little bit more stout. Their trucks back then were built to be used as trucks more so than they are now. Like, so if that makes sense. Man, that blows.